the very first idea was, well, hey, there just needs to be some kind of a website to let people know when they're tendering, because tendering means, it's an invitation to all drinks brand of a specific category to come and say, here's my best deal, here's my product, here's why I think it works for your bar, and you should consider it.
Welcome to the Startup Huddle. I'm your host, Jozef, and I'm excited to introduce you to the current and upcoming leaders of the startup tech world. We'll discuss digital products and key takeaways for life and professional growth. So grab a coffee and let's huddle up.
Cool. So hello everyone. On today's episode, we have Sam Showering from EzTenda. EzTenda is a client of ours. Sam is a friend of ours and a business partner. Today's episode is going to be a little bit special because we are going to talk about quite an unusual industry. We'll focus on hospitality industry in the UK. So welcome, Sam. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks very much. I wouldn't say it's unusual. We all like hospitality.
It's unusual maybe for tech, but you can tell us a little bit more about this. So if you can tell me a little bit more and all the listeners about your background, what you're doing now, how you started. Just a brief sort of description of who you are.
Sure. I mean, my family, we've been working in the drinks industry and hospitality for hundreds of years, since the 1600s, so a very long time. My dad and his brothers, they have a production facility with 9 factories producing 2 million bottles a day for various products, and they also make a lot of cider. So I started in the factory, making drinks, and then I moved into selling cider, which was hard. They just give you a brochure, they just give you a brochure like this, and they just say, go get in a car and go get some sales. That's how sort of like loose the description is. And you get to these pubs and these restaurants and these bars trying to sell products, and it's hard work. The rejection rate is like 92%, something like that. 8% is strong. If you're a good sales representative, 8% is strong. So that's where I started. I started in the school of hard knocks of sales. Very difficult few years, but then you end up becoming very tenacious and very thick-skinned. In the sales process, which I think was always a benefit. Then I moved into a company called Fever Tree, which was a small business at the time, but ended up, being a massive success in the UK and globally, listed on the AIM market for over £4 billion at one stage. So it was an incredible journey to be on that for a short period of time. And then I started my own product called Pedrino Spritz. So I started a brand from scratch with my friend. And again, on the road, selling it to supermarkets, new distributors in different countries, new pub groups, pub chains, individual pubs, individual restaurants, hotels. So we've gone through the sales cycle, for absolutely everything that you can think of. We've been there. We've been in fields selling bottles over bars. We've been in supermarkets selling to people walking around the shop. We've been selling to buyers in conferences. We've been selling to people on Zoom and Teams calls. We've done it all. So we really wanted to solve some of the problems in sales in the drinks industry and connect great venues and connect great brands to each other.
For me, a very unusual journey. I don't know anyone else that has been so tied to a hospitality industry, especially drinks industry. So what happened to the family business? Is this still running? And how did it evolve over time? You said that your family have been involved in that business for many, many years. So how did it start and where is it now?
Well, it's the starting story is actually kind of good because this is also I will accept this is a very unusual story. So they had pubs. So they had 3 pubs, and one was called the Black Swan, and this is in Somerset, and it had a road opposite, and the opposite the road was a brewery called Kilver Street Brewery, which the family didn't own. It was somebody else that owned it. And one day there was a fire at the brewery.
When was it, Sam? What year was this?
This would have been early 1600s, 16
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
So there was a big fire at the brewery, and when the fire was raging and swallowing up half the factory, one of my ancestors ran out and said, "Hey, look, I'll help you put out the fire. I've got loads of people in the pub. They can come and help, and we'll put this fire out. But I want to buy the pub right now, buy the brewery right now." So they did a deal with the brewery in flames in front of them, signed on it and shook on it. They put the fire out, and that was the very first factory and brewery that my family ever bought. And they've been in the game like that since.
That's super cool. I always wanted to have a pub, but you managed to not only have pubs but also the breweries, the
Yeah.
source. Yeah, interesting. And then then mostly what was happening is that you were owning the what was it, breweries. Then you were also making other spirits or other drinks, and also like a chain of pubs. Or how did it develop further?
They had pubs and they had orchards as well, where they used to press apples and pears and make ciders. They also made beers and wines and spirits. They made lots of different products over the years. And then if we fast forward to sort of 1960, they started a brand called Baby Sham, which is a very popular product in the 60s. They sold around 3.5 billion units. It was massive scale. And they went on a big acquisitional spree and bought Harvey's Bristol Cream, which is the world's most popular sherry, which is largely due to my family and a formidable sales force at the time. And then they bought Coburn's Port and turned it into one of the best-selling ports of all time as well. Teacher's Whiskey, Two Here's Beer, Britvic and Whiteways, Magners and Bulmers. The list is really big, actually. When you look at all the family brands, there are a lot of really cool brands in the family history. But that company went public in probably 1970, something like 1973 or 4 or something like that. And my grandfather was chairman of that company for a while, but that's what made my father and his brothers to start again. So they had to start again from scratch with their own limited company.
Perfect. Now, so why and how did you start with Padrino Spritz, and how did it lead to EzTenda? And if you can also tell us a little bit more maybe about how you're bringing tech into that industry.
I started Padrino Spritz because I had a great friend I was living with in London. Really great friend, and he was really interested in drinks too. And I was working at Fever Tree, and we came up with some ideas, and we said, hey, one drunk night, we said, hey, let's do it. Let's start a drinks business together, and we did it. And we really took a gentle go at it. We were quite happy to maybe not take it all the way. We were just starting it to see how it goes. We were happy to try it for 6 months, and if it didn't, we'd go back to whatever we were doing. And then after that sort of short trial period, we got some good sales. We got accepted into Waitrose, which is a big supermarket here in the UK. And Diageo, they're the biggest spirits distributor in the world, based here in the UK. They called us up and asked us if they'd be interested in doing a partnership with them, so they'd invest. So they invested in the business, which gave us some money and made it a little bit more of a serious business. So we took it as far as we could go, and then we got to the fun bit, which is COVID. COVID was a really difficult time for all drinks businesses, and all the drinks businesses and hospitality aren't out of the woods yet in terms of how difficult the conditions are. There's very difficult conditions, especially here in the UK, with inflation and cost of living and consumer behaviours, especially for startup drinks products. A lot of data that we've received recently, it shows that the craft spirits category in the on-trade is down like 16%, which is massive decline in buying of craft spirits products. And then for craft beer, I think it's something similar. It's like 14% or something like that, or maybe even more. It could be 20%. I need to look at the numbers, but they're shockingly high. If you're a startup drinks brand, it's not a nice place to be at the moment. And I think I recognized this long before COVID, and it had always frustrated me to not have the transparency when selling to venues. Venues often, they do a deal with somebody and it locks everyone else out to be able to negotiate and speak to. And often it's like first come, first serve. If you happen to walk in and see the buyer at the right time, you can shake hands, lock in a deal for 12 months or 6 months, and it locks everyone else out. But the buyer would have just done it with anyone who walked in. So you just have to be first. Whereas if we put everyone in a competitive marketplace, we give totally easy, frictionless systems to be able to put their offers forward and their brands forward with their deals, then we create a more efficient marketplace for everyone. For the brands, they don't have to send reps around everywhere, and for the venues, they don't have to meet all these people at random. They can just post their stuff online. They can get all the best deals.
Before we get into the tech and the problem you were actually trying to solve, so what does it take to create a successful startup drink, like a new drink on the market? Which ones succeed? What are the key challenges? Is the key thing, getting sales very quickly? And how do you get sales? Why? So what's the sort of what's the key thing for success there?
Sure. I mean, this topic is in my opinion anyway, it's huge topic. But I think one of the key things is to have a really great brand story. You want to be able to tell the story about the product, and you want to have a really clear message of what problem you fix in the drinks industry. And and Fevertree is one of my favorite examples. It's something that the family are very well involved in. It's and they've shortened their strap line to like three or four words, which is even better. So they used to say if 3/4 of your drink is tonic water, make sure it's the best, right? So if it's 75% of your drink, make sure it's the best. So that was their strap line, and then eventually they shortened it to just mix with the best. Kind of make it's a really clear, obvious message. And I think that's what they strive to be. They just strive to be the very best in their category. And then when they got to being the very best in their category, using the best materials, best bottle, best labels, best delivery, best price, best everything, then they can call themselves the best. They got voted the best in every award possible. And then, they had a really clear vision and a clear strategy, and it was easy. It was a really simple and clear strategy. But sometimes, you can see some drinks brands trying to be a one size fits all. They want to be a perfect gin for a Negroni, but then they want to be a perfect gin for a gin and tonic, and the perfect gin for a gin spritz. Well, actually, maybe there's just one place for them that really works that they should stick to.
And that how expensive it is to start like the new drink brand? Is it like because when you're starting a tech company, you raise money and then you sort of have 16, 18 months run rate, whatever, all those typical things. How to start a drinks brand?
This is again another really good question, because things have changed a lot in the last 6 months. Things are now a lot more expensive than they were. Glass, for instance, is now nearly double. So the glass price of products is double. Some of the raw materials, if you're picking them up from Europe for us with Brexit and things like this, duty and things is much more expensive. And production as well, because energy costs are so high here in the UK. If you're doing production, it can be much more expensive. So these are big factors which makes everything a bit more expensive. But I would say from a conservative standpoint, when starting a product, you need to do a lot of testing. You need to do a lot of, you need to make a great liquid. You need to make a great label and bottle mold. You need to make a great business plan. You need to make, have a great name, have a great brand storybook, all these things. And I think usually to get to that stage, I would say a conservative amount is usually 150,000 to start a drinks brand, and that's just to start it. That's before you've sold a single bottle. That's probably you're going to be 150,000 in the hole. So I think that's the start. That would probably last you for your first year to get a product out the door and made, and get you into the stage of raising a little bit more money. And then I would say you'd be on to a 400 to 500,000 pounds raise, and you'd be looking for your first 100 customers. First 100 venues which are perfect to your brand, or supermarkets, first thing that's perfect to you guys. Line up a distributor, get enough stock made, hire a couple of people in the back office for sending samples and making a great website, making a great social media accounts, things like that. And that would probably get you to the stage where you could raise again.
Very interesting. And so where are you gonna sell first normally? Are you gonna sell to venues, you mean like bars, and or are you gonna target the supermarkets first? And what are the key questions there? Why you go focus on one over the other?
I think bars have the least friction to get sales into. Sometimes bars can buy stuff in cash directly from brand owners, whereas supermarkets they have very specific range dates. Okay, we'll review the rum range in August next year, and it's going to stay the same for 12 months. So if you just miss the time, then you're in trouble. And that's even if you can get a meeting with these people. Sometimes they won't even meet you because they get so many requests from so many brands they wouldn't even pick up the phone. So it's a really challenging thing to get into supermarkets. And often supermarkets, they want you to have had some great success in the on-trade first because they want to know that consumers are going to be looking for that product when they come to their store. They want to have a big brand awareness before a customer's got there. So they want you to have built the brand in pubs, bars, and hotels first.
Makes sense. And so getting back to Pedrino Spritz, so you're working on that company, and then trying to sell to bars, to supermarkets, etc. And you could see some problems there. So the first problem, one of the problems you mentioned, was that the whole process of selling and understanding what's available on the market is not really transparent. And so then, are there any other problems you were trying to solve? And you can now tell us a little bit more about EzTenda, because that's what I would like to focus on the most. That's the current startup you're running.
Yeah, I mean, EasyTender's idea was, the very first idea was, well, hey, there just needs to be some kind of a website to let people know when they're tendering, because tendering means, it's an invitation to all drinks brand of a specific category to come and say, here's my best deal, here's my product, here's why I think it works for your bar, and you should consider it. But these tenders only went to a few people because it's just limited to the access of the buyer that the people that they know. It's a people industry, which is that's the thing I love about the industry, is that it is very people related. There's everyone's friends. It's a really good, fun industry to be in. Everyone knows each other. But then ultimately, it's just down to access. And so giving whole of market access, making it a totally free and open marketplace, just gives everyone a better chance to get these deals, which otherwise they're locked out of. Yeah, so access is number one. I'd say for the number two, USP for this is for venues really. Venues they want to stock, say, 300 different products, and they're picking from a list from a wholesaler that may have around 12,000 different products. Which 300 out of the 12,000 should they choose? Because each of those products that they're choosing value that venue differently to each other. If you're a seaside restaurant and you have a seaside gin, the seaside gin might pay a little bit more to be stocked there than the gin that's made in the city, So what our software does is it finds that perfect product for the perfect venue via data, and you can offer them a deal specific to how much they're going to sell for the year ahead. And this in the industry is unheard of. You just have to take everyone at your word. I just have to go, hey Jozef, how much rum are you selling at your bar this year? And you go, I don't know, like 1,000 bottles. And I'm like, are you sure? That sounds a lot, and I've got to trust you. Whereas if it's online and it's digital and there's proof, we get people uploading their volumes digitally onto our website. It's a totally transparent process, which gives everyone a much faster speed to get value from each other.
Sounds like an industry ripe for disruption. What are there any other providers like yourself on the market, or not really?
Nothing like us. I mean, this is one thing that I'm very proud of, is that we've focused on a very specific problem, which is the tendering problem. We focused on that. That's what we made our business about. We called it EzTenda because we're making the tender process easy, streamlined, fair, open, transparent. That's what we're doing. Whereas there are other solutions out there. I won't name them because I think it's maybe unfair or fair, but they offer procurement and maybe a little bit of like introduction at the same time. Whereas procurement, we're agnostic. In the industry, we have wholesalers that supply to all the pubs and bars, and these wholesalers, it really doesn't matter which ones you use, but all the other softwares outside of EzTenda, they're not wholesaler agnostic. They're trying to own the procurement piece as well. Whereas it opens up a massive opportunity for us for integrations with wholesalers, for integrations with pubs and bars, to be able to integrate with their current systems. And we don't have to worry about delivery. We don't have to worry about owning stock or any further sort of unnecessary development to be involved in that process. But we just want to focus on the deal making.
And given that this is something very new for the industry, how are you validating your idea in the beginning? Because it's always a bunch of assumptions that you have about the problems and about the solutions as well, about the reaction of the markets to what you're doing. So how did you go about the validation, and how did you start? Essentially, what were the first steps?
I mean, a lot of this Sudolabs taught me. It wasn't like I had a plan to validate it. I'd never done technology validation before. Of course, we've done things with drinks. We've had focus groups and tasters and things like this. But this was a very different thing for me. And we had a concept, and we worked on it in Figma. We did user interviews with pub owners, with brand owners, with myself, with others. And this is all with Sudolabs. With Jan, actually. I think Jan's the best I've ever been for product discovery. He's a really incredible guy. We built it out into Figma, and then once we agreed that of a scope, we built a product in Bubble. I don't know if you guys still use Bubble.
Yes, it's still our preferred way of prototyping and the early stage builds.
Yeah, so built a product in Bubble in under 5 days. It took 1 week, to build a product, which was amazing because we had this product and we did a trial. We did a gin of the month to a pub just down the road. And then we invited 6 different gin brands to compete to be which one's going to be gin of the month. And they could offer listing fees, free stock, retrospective discounts, marketing budgets. And it was seamless. Everyone placed their bids. The venue picked a winner. It worked. We got loads of feedback because we made some things very restrictive to start with. And I think the one thing I learned about doing that product discovery phase is to keep things as frictionless as possible. You want the user to be able to enter almost free field at any time, anything that they want. And then as long as 95% of users are all entering similar data, then you can make it fixed. But to keep it really, unrestricted first. So we unrestricted a lot of the data entry fields for EzTenda before we started. And then we built an MVP in only 6 weeks after that, something like this, 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. We had an MVP ready.
So it was a very, very quick process. Now, so tell us a little bit more about the current sort of the current stats about EzTenda. So have you already raised money, and do you have customers? So what's the current stage of the business?
We've serviced thousands of pubs already this year. With our sort of, broadly speaking, our MVP product has not changed too much, but it's a very polished product now. But it's not too different to the original product. We serviced thousands of pubs. We've done millions of pounds worth of bids. I think around £4 million worth of bids so far. So that's customers offering listing fees, free stock, retros, and marketing budgets. It's been a really big year this year, in particular the last 6 months. In the first quarter of this year, we were growing at 41% per month on month growth. We've had, versus this time last year, we have like a 700% increase in user activity. So people using the platform every day. It's part of people's everyday schedule now. Brands wake up, check EzTenda, place their bids on EzTenda, go back to their day. It's like part of everyone's routine, which is really, really exciting for us that we're starting to become part of a ritual for sales reps now to go and check EzTenda and place bids and sort out their deals.
Amazing. And so how long have you been around? Because that's like, being like serving so many businesses and essentially being the source of so much revenue for me, it feels like quite a short amount of time. So you got to market essentially with a quick discovery, 6 weeks to MVP, and now how long have you been around?
I think I incorporated the business in 2021. But we were planning, doing lots of decks, meeting lots of people for quite some time. But then we got a product live, pretty fast. As I said, I think it was we got those MVPs live. I think it was probably January 2021, probably something like that. So it was really kind of fast. We were actually working with Sudolabs before I'd incorporated the company. I think we did a little bit of stuff beforehand because I wanted to line up technology partners. We spoke to a few different technology companies actually, looking at pricing, looking at how they dealt with startups, how they worked with us, and we actually chose Sudolabs with the number one standout candidate after I spoke to Richard Ross. Is it Richard Roscoe and Jan?
Yeah,
You
Richard
know,
is our VP of engineering, and Jan is the CPO. Yeah,
yeah, they totally convinced me. They were very convincing. And, we went with you guys. And then I met some guys. This is a friend of my father's who started a business called USwitch. I don't know if you guys heard of it. USwitch. It's an energy comparison product that was one of the first major comparison sites in the world for energy comparison, and then later car comparison and everything comparison. It's called USwitch. And he started in the sort of 90s with sales teams. He had like hundreds of sales teams that used to go, hundreds of people in their sales teams knocking on door to door, like just knocking your door going, hey, can I convince you to switch your energy supplier? And then one day, some really smart guy said, hey, you should really do this online. It'd be really cool if you did it online. And then lo and behold, USwitch became a multi-billion pound success unicorn not long afterwards. So when I described to him the problem we have in the drinks industry, I said, hey, look, all these sales of these 12,000 products and all these wholesalers or 20,000 products in the UK is done face to face, knocking on doors. And he was like, oh my God. He was like, it's happening again. And I was like, yeah, it is. And he was like, where do I sign? I want in. And then the second he got in, it was really fast for everyone else. The funding round we raised 500,000 as a pre-seed round, which covered the cost of development, it covered the cost of all the legal fees and all the things to get us going. We had to do lots of legal work on making sure anti-competition law was okay. Selling alcohol, especially in the UK and globally, has lots of different legalities to it and how you can advertise it and sell it. So it got us all the way through to, towards the end of last year. And we looked at raising again, the beginning of this year, which we did. We raised another 1.2 million seed round, which has, been really instrumental in getting some of this integration work done, polishing the product, building out the team. We've had new hires this year, had 2 new hires. And we're just going to keep pushing the business and keep getting those growth rates, those great metrics, great integrations, get a huge network effect from these integrations as well, and just keep taking the business to where it's going to go.
and that's what I wanted to follow up with. So, what is the key challenge right now for you? What's the key hurdle you need to overcome? And then the second part maybe would be, what are the plans in the next year?
Sure. With any two-sided marketplace, no matter what it is, reaching critical mass is the only thing you need to be thinking about. It needs to have a totally loaded both sides of the marketplace to be interesting to both sides. It just needs to be loaded. And are we there yet? Maybe. We have around 2.5 million pounds worth of business to bid on every 30 days. By September we want to have around 7.5 million pounds worth of business to bid on every 30 days. So that's the kind of growth rate that we're on trajectory to keep going to do. But ultimately what we want to do is we want to integrate with other partners, which gives us a much faster and larger network effect and realizes value for venues and brands in real time rather than waiting for tenders to close and things like this. There'll be no input needed from venues to get bids from brands. They'll just be immediate, which is going to take the business to the next level, which is something we're working on now.
Sounds very exciting, and good luck with that. Um, what was so maybe getting back to the problem of the marketplace? How did it's a sort of a chicken and egg problem, So the buyers are not interested because there are no sellers there, and vice versa. How do you get the first critical mass there? How do you get like the first users and actually make sure that people use it and that you can provide value for both sides in the very beginning?
It just takes nothing but really, really, really hard work. I don't know how to say it any different than that. It was hard. Like it was really, really hard. You have a totally empty website that needs to have millions of pounds worth of deals on it to even get the relatively small brands interested. And you've got to start from nothing with no deals. And I think sometimes if you know people in the industry that are friends, you kind of got to come at them really openly and honestly go, hey, look, it's my website and I really want you guys to sign up and help me out. It'll take you 5 minutes per week just to check out the deals that I load on here and the tenders. Can you just be a user? And I'd signed up a few people this way. And then, for the venues, I just had to ask them, we got a couple of larger venues that had much more interest in brands to be stocked in. And we asked them to email all the brands. So we said, hey, look, when you come to your tendering process, email all the major brands and say, hey, look, we're doing this via EzTenda. If it's not an EzTenda, I'm not interested. And this gave us a lot of early scale. We had a lot of people signing up because it wasn't us reaching out as a new SaaS product. It was the venue reaching out saying, hey, look, this is the new way of doing things. We want to do it this way. And we managed to do that not only with one company called M Restaurants, who have got 3 different steak bars but sell quite a lot. We also did it with Stonegate, who have, we tender for 1,270 pubs at a time. And we did their gin tenders, gin of the month, for a couple of months. And that has got a phenomenal amount of sign-ups. Each tender had like 70 to 80 bids on it from all the major brands in the industry. And that kind of helped the liquidity problem to no end. Everyone at that stage had understood it. The coverage of EzTenda now in the UK is massive. Everyone's heard of us. Everyone knows about it. Everyone's either got an account or thinking about getting an account. So I think we've done the hard work, but it was not easy for sure.
And given how difficult it was to build, and this is not your first business, I guess that it had to be very similar with the previous things you were doing. Why you are a founder? What fascinates you about being a founder? What drives you? What's the key reason?
Yeah, these are some good questions today. I don't know. I never really think of myself as a founder. I think I'm an opportunist. I'm an opportunist. If I see something that really interests me that I think needs to be changed or is an opportunity, I'll go for it. I won't wait around. I think that's probably one reason where I am. But when I get involved in the team, when I have a team around me of people that I really like and I trust and that I want to work with, I just feel part of a team. I don't feel like I'm differentiated as a founder. I feel like we're all just on this journey now together, doing this job, doing this, we're on this mission together now and we're going to complete it no matter what. And we're in it together. That's the feeling that I get. I don't feel so much like a founder, but maybe that's just me. I think, slightly different.
And so what do you like the most about having control over the business and being able to drive this? Is it the impact you can make on the business? Is it the opportunity that you get to change something? Is it the control you have? What are the aspects that you like the most about being in your position?
Do you know what? I think I really like the autonomy to reward people in the business. To be able to say, actually, do you know what? You guys have done a really good job. I think we want to reward you guys for doing that, and that's been amazing. And I love those conversations that we've had with people, in the recent history. And I just want to be able to continue to do that for people. I think everyone holds people accountable so much, and they have all these 3-monthly reviews and performance reviews. And I think it's just so much better to have one-on-one strong relationships with your staff that you can reward as they do well. Rewarding positive behavior, you're going to get a very positive workplace. I think that's kind of I would say that's my fun bit. That's the bit that I like having. If I lost that power, that would be not as fun.
This is the first time I've heard something like this. So what you like is to reward people for them as a result of them doing a great job.
Yeah. I mean, we had a new sales guy. We gave him some really kind of they weren't difficult targets, but they were, it's always a challenge. In a new startup, you've got to set some targets which are unknown how hard they're going to be for him. And we said, you're going to have a probation period of whatever it is. I can't remember, 4 or 5 months or something. And 2 months, he was absolutely smashing it. And we said, hey, we know we haven't set you your bonus yet, but we're going to pay you. We're going to pay you, 15% of your bonus up front right now. Then we're going to reset it for the whole year, and then we're also your probation period's gone. Forget it. It's finished. It was such a nice conversation for me to have because you could see him leave and just want to do it again. He just wanted to go out and repeat the same behavior. And I think if we can develop an environment that everyone loves repeating positive behaviors in the business, then that's just a really cool place to be.
Interesting. And that sounds that's obviously a very positive aspect of having a business, being able to, especially during the good times and the outperformers, to be able to reward them and sort of share the benefits of the value that has been created. But what about the negative things? So what you don't like about, if anything?
Oh, there's loads. I mean, I think every founder can connect with, losing sleep at night, just stuff on your mind because I would say I'm not the hardest working guy all the time, but I never turn off. The second I'm awake, it's work. The second I go to sleep, I turn off work. The work is just I'm a marathon runner. I do 7 days a week, all hours of every day. But am I working, totally focused, totally in? Probably not. I'm probably not the hardest at being totally intensely onto something, but I'm on it 7 days a week, and it can exhaust you sometimes, and you can lose sleep over it, thinking about a problem or thinking about difficult situations in the business. I think every founder can relate to. And then I think the same, you're right, positively reinforcing people that work for the business, either third party or directly for you or whatever. You're right. There's a catch-22, which is if they're not performing or doing something bad, or I've dealt with this too in my previous business. We've had things that haven't been other employees' faults, that haven't been doing too well, or maybe it has been their fault, it's not been doing too well, and dealing with them is a really difficult thing to do. But often I think now, if you've been doing this game long enough, you can spot what these problems are going to be before you hire someone. We've looked at quite a few different people recently, and I've had interviews, met them for coffees, talked about the job roles, and we can see from a down the line, maybe we'll have some problems with these guys. So we have a very select team right now, and I'm happy with who we have.
This maybe gets me to, especially, you told me about like the fact that it's kind of easy to lose sleep. It's hard to turn off, especially if you're the owner of the business. Now, what do you do in your free time to relax? Like I've seen that you can drive boats, and I've also I think you like MMA and martial arts. So tell me a little bit more about what you do in your free time and how you try to relax and what are the methods.
Yeah, I love to go to the gym. There's something very, peaceful about doing something which is you set a goal on paper. It's easily achievable. I'm going to do 3 sets of this, 4 sets of that, 1 mile on a treadmill, one whatever. And then you come back and it's all just ticked, it's complete. You feel like you can achieve something that you set yourself. You set yourself a goal and you can achieve it within like all of an hour of leaving your house. It's a very therapeutic thing for me. I really enjoy that. But also, I really enjoy competition. I like competing. So I love jiu-jitsu. I still do rounds of jiu-jitsu, every other week. Make sure I get my rounds in. Spar with people. I love competitive nature of it. I still do boxing as well. I competed in boxing last year. So I think having healthy competition, in a really stressful environment is really positive because you can't win everything. You have to lose rounds. You have to lose, you have to get hurt or, something has to go wrong. Nothing ever goes to plan in a fight anyway. Nothing goes to plan. So you just have to be used to it. I think it's just the resilience you need as a founder or being part of a business, that you need to accept that not everything can go right. And I talk about it all the time with the team. We just have to bat for average. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. It's a cricket term. They call it batting
Uh,
for average.
not really, if you can explain.
So batting for average in cricket means when the bowler throws the ball, if you want to slam it, you get more points. If you want to knock it out the park, you can get a 6 or 4 points. If you just play it very defensively to make sure you don't get bowled out, i.e. you lose, you get less runs, but they call it batting for average because those people that stay in the longest and get the most consistent results often score the most points. So I speak to the guys, it's not about getting 100% of things right. We don't want to if we're getting 100% of things right, then we're not working fast enough, we're not completing enough tasks. We need to be maybe getting 80% of things right, 60% of things right, but we're just getting so many tasks done, so much work through the business that the 60% that we're getting right is what's going to grow the business and keep our growth metrics where they need to be.
Interesting. So for you, it's more about like moving fast, with still keeping like certain level of quality. It's better than, rather just doing fewer things, but very well. Or am I just, okay.
Yeah, I think, sales is one of the perfect examples of this. You could go out for the day, visit one pub. Let's just imagine we're in-person selling right now. You visit the one pub and they go, oh, sorry, can you come back at lunchtime? You're like, well, it's 11 o'clock. I can't really go very far before I've got to be back at lunchtime. So maybe you walk down the road, you get a coffee, you wait. Maybe you see one other place. Then you go back at lunchtime. You go, oh, sorry, it's lunch service. You have to come back. Okay, no worries. I'll come back after lunch. Another hour goes by. You see them. He's like, okay, you can meet the bar manager. Okay, nice to meet you. How you doing? Oh yeah, sorry, we're just not interested in any of this stuff. I'm sorry, but we've already got loads of rum in this bar. We don't want to switch. We've got a great deal. Okay, no worries. You've left, but you've wasted half your day. Half your day is just gone because you trusted that was going to be. You tried to perfect that one place. What you should have done is you should have walked in there. They said, oh, sorry, can you come back at lunch service? Forget about that place. Get on your journey. Go visit more places. Go speak to more people. Go get more work under the belt, and then go back the next day. Just go next time you drive past. Go in and say, hey, listen, I missed you last time, but I was here yesterday. But don't waste your time on trying to make it perfect every time. You've got to get it. You just got to get your average out there. And it's the same with what we do. If we have email outreach campaigns and somebody emails back and goes, hey, we're interested in this, we go, no problem. This would be great to meet you and learn more about your venue and what problems you experience when tendering. Here's our sales deck. We'd love you to read it and send us any questions. And if they don't respond, maybe we'll chase them up in a week and go, hey, did you see this? And then chase them up in a week later and say, did you see that? But other than that, then they're gone. That's water under the bridge and we're straight on to the next people. We're straight on to the next customer. We'll have hundreds of outreach just going on all the time rather than focusing on just these one small things.
And that's hopefully some very good advice for other business owners and founders as well. And I think I think that's it for today. Hopefully, people will learn something. Definitely, we touched a topic that I don't think I will touch again in this podcast. Learn something about how to create your own drink brands, what's new in the hospitality tech, and also learn some valuable lessons from you. So thanks very much, Sam, for coming. And speak soon.
Okay, let's catch you soon. All right, bye.
And that's it for today's episode of the Startup Huddle. Thank you very much for listening, and make sure to catch all episodes on the startuphuddle.com and follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter for more insights and updates on the world of startups. Thanks again for tuning in.